Are you prepared for the unexpected? Preparation meets opportunity. That's a stipulated fact. I found several articles in a newspaper called Mirror. It's from the UK. Because oftentimes here in America, the news is just about the Republicans and MAGA. Everything is always one sided. And I get tired of talking about just that. So, what I'm doing, I am deliberately going out of my way, doing a lot of research and finding articles that have a meaning behind them. Tyrone Bowman Live, welcome to the program. An article written by Sarah Tulloch from the Mirror. The headline reads, Exact amount of food and water you need if World War III breaks out as Brits, quote, must prepare, end quote. As the world teeters on the edge of World War III, one expert has called for the UK government to issue a survival guide to warn the public how to make it through the conflict. Winston Churchill guided the UK during the darkest period when England was threatened to survive and beyond. He was the prime minister. So according to the Mirror, let's look at this article. And I'll be stopping, offering some opinions here and there. Quote, an expert has called on the UK government or the United Kingdom government to issue a guidebook instructing the public on survival strategies in the event of World War III, including the amount of food and drinks we need to stock up on. This follows the French government's decision to distribute a 20-page booklet containing 63 measures advising citizens on how to safeguard themselves and their families during various horrifying scenarios such as armed conflict, nuclear leaks, and natural disasters. Last year, amid escalating fears of a third world war, countries including Sweden, Finland, and Norway started circulating pamphlets urging their citizens to stock up on food and water in anticipation of a potential nuclear attack. The Swedish book titled, quote, If Crisis or War Comes, end quote, was distributed to households nationwide with 5 million copies of the 32-page guide providing detailed instructions on gathering supplies and seeking shelter in case of war. You know what? I think that's a pretty good suggestion. We must be prepared just in case the inevitable happens, ladies and gentlemen. When people don't take heed to warnings and learn lessons from the past, they're condemned to repeat it. The saying goes, quote, those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it, end quote. That was the sign that was over top of the chair where Jim Jones of false prophets sat, who led 1,000+ people to their deaths in the jungles of Guyana. So what would you do in the case of an emergency? We don't have any shelters in the cities. There are no plans of evacuation. No one is talking to us about how to prepare for the unprepared. Look what happened when the pandemic came, caught everybody off guard. People didn't know what to do. They were looking for leadership. They were looking for how to survive. They needed food, water, money. So now the question is, are we prepared? Because other nations and countries are preparing their citizens just in case World War III does happen. So in the booklet entitled, If Crisis or War Comes, It advised households to have food and water supplies at hand for any impending conflict. Finland also launched a government website outlining preparations for various disaster scenarios. Matter of fact, here's a picture of Sweden's Minister for Civil Defense, Carl Oskar Pohlin, as he presented the new version of the preparedness booklet, quote, "If the crisis or war comes," end quote, credited by the TT news agency and the AFP via Getty Images. So let's look at it. It's written in their native language. Yes. See how they address their people? Talking about things. Some of the stuff I tell you may sound boring, but guess what? In the event of emergency, you'll be like, you know what? I need to turn to that black man's channel. I ain't like him because he was black. And I ain't want to hear nothing he had to say. But I think I better go to his channel. Because after all, he was trying to help us. Quote, "An insecure world requires preparedness. The military threat to Sweden has increased, and we must prepare for the worst. An armed attack," end quote, reads the introduction of the Swedish guide. Professor Anthony Glees, a security and defense academic at the University of Buckingham, has strongly urged the UK government to follow in the footsteps of other nations by creating a short, decently written booklet to help the public prepare for potential warfare. He told the Mirror, quote, "It should stress at the outset, of course, that the whole of our national defense strategy is about deterrence, that our foreign policy is defensive, not offensive, and that if we become as strong as we now want to be, thanks to Starmer and his European colleagues, and thanks in parentheses, yes, to the goading from President Trump, then World War III can surely be averted," end quote. The professor emphasized that this guide should outline possible scenarios, including cyber attacks, drone attacks, and potential missile assaults. Glees pointed out the country's lack of Iron Dome systems around the key cities. The government would have had to admit that we are woefully lacking in Iron Dome systems around our key cities. As I understand, we have 5 warships that could intercept incoming missiles, but 1 or 2 are in the Gulf, and 1 or 2 are being prepared. We have no fixed systems at all, he claimed. Everything to date depends on our Vanguard subs. In a decade, to be dead enough subs, and the Trident nukes. If they are fired, it will be Armageddon day or no survivors. Discussions preparedness for a potential conventional attack. Professor Glees shared a practical approach. Quote, "But if more likely there's a conventional attack, that's something we can prepare for. A week's supply of food, bottled water, paracetamol, and loads of emergency Snickers bars, as well as battery-operated devices and a couple of charging units. Loaded for a few days from the electricity supply, which will probably be turned off." Let me tell you something. Y'all can, you can laugh at me if you want to, but let me tell you what they're doing in the southern part of America. These people are stockpiling weapons, they're stockpiling food, they're building fortresses. Oh, you don't think I know what I'm talking about? I know exactly what I'm talking about. They're prepared for any and everything. Did you forget about Waco, Texas? Remember the incident that happened down at Waco, Texas? With David Koresh? They came up in there and they thought that they could just go up in there and take him out. What happened? They were militarily armed with all kinds of stuff to defend themselves. Why do you think there is an attack on the Second Amendment? Why do you think that the argument for disarmament is so loud, especially in Black rural communities. They don't want Black people to be in a place to be self sufficient and to be prepared in case any and everything happens. But down in the southern part of America, especially in Oregon, Texas, and where they have open carry laws, Kansas City, these people are preparing. They're preparing for war on the homeland. They're not thinking about Armageddon or World War III. They want civil war right here in America. So when somebody tries to talk to people and advise them, they should listen. So reflecting on his childhood drills for nuclear threats, Professor Glees recounted, when I was a schoolboy 70 years ago, we school kids were told to take cover under our desks. Having painted the windows with sour milk to keep out the radiation, I think we were far more afraid of the headmaster than the Russians. It'll be different today. Quote, close quote. More likely, the hippies used to say in the 1960s, you need to do when the bomb dropped. Pardon me, say you needed to do when the drum bombed. Bend over and then kiss your a goodbye. End quote. This is real, ladies and gentlemen. Just a suggestion. This professor advised the Brits in the UK, prepare for the uncertain. It's always better to be prepared. And the way food prices and stuff are going up, man, people should be buying food, putting food away, stockpiling water, and so many different things, flashlights, batteries, transistor radios, old-fashioned phones, walkie-talkies, in case anything happens. Never surrender. Never quit.